Guys, most people play DraftKings DFS the wrong way and they wind up losing money. In this video, I'm going to explain how to not do that. We're going to teach you the techniques that pro players use to keep their accounts profitable year after year after year, avoiding what I call the sucker contest and getting into the right kind of contest that can reward your skill set for being good at daily fantasy football. Let's jump right into it. In this video, we're really going to be talking about how to be a profitable player on DraftKings in 2025. Now, you might not want to be a profitable. A lot of people are recreational. They get on DraftKings and they jump in a contest like I have here on screen. Week one, they have this $3.5 million Millie Maker, and you're like, hey, I want to dream about winning $1 million. I'm going to put in some entries and kind of like buying a lotto ticket. I'm just going to have my hopes and my dreams, and maybe I'll hit the million, quit my job, and, go live in Tahiti, right? If that's who you are and that's what you want to do, that's cool. We've got tools here at DFS Army to help you attack these contest types, and we have people taking down tournaments all the time. Very doable. I don't know about this one, but very doable. But if you want to be a profitable player on DraftKings in 2025, if you want to truly play profitably, you're going to have to change up your approach. There's a reason that DraftKings puts this contest at the very, very top of their lobby. That's because this is the contest they want you to enter. This is a money loser for you every time you enter it. So I'm going to explain why, but you might be really good at picking lineups, picking players. You might have really good math. You might have really good projections, but the reason you're losing money is it's because of the contests you're entering and the contests you're selecting. So I'm going to get into it, and we're going to show you with math why the contests that you've been attacking are the reason that your DraftKings results have not been profitable year after year. It's not you. It's just the contest selections. Let's jump right into it. And I want to talk about the 4 or 5 different contest types that exist on DraftKings. And then we're going to get into the math behind some of these contests and why some of them are truly not particularly profitable. Let's get into it. We'll start with cash game, right? Head-to-heads, 50-50s, and double-ups. Cash games are conservative DraftKings NFL DFS contests where the goal is to finish in roughly the top half of the field to cash. In your 50-50s, that would just be a field of 12 and the top 5 double their money. Or you might have a double up, the same idea. The top 45 to 50% of the field double their money when they enter it. Now, the fun of this, an average player should be able to win about 50% of the time in this. So if you just throw in any lineup together, you're not very good at DFS, you should be able to win these pretty regularly. You're going up against multiple opponents. So you're going to occasionally run into opponents who are terrible, who are making a bad lineup. You're going to run into people who make an amazing lineup. And your results should be net about 50-50. This part is interesting, guys. The best players in the world in cash game can win at about a 55 to 60% rate, which over time will give you an ROI in the range of 4 to 5%. Now, if you're a DFS Army subscriber, DFS Army member, of course, our projection model is superior to, I would say, just about anything out there. So just kind of running optimals in cash games or some version of an optimal in a cash game is going to get you a win rate in that 55 to 60% range, maybe even a little bit higher. If you're cool with that, that's fine. The pros of this approach, it's a low variance approach, consistent profits over time. It's ideal for bankroll building. Huge win probabilities, only need to beat half the field, so you experience the feeling of winning more frequently. Now, I know that might not matter to everybody, but emotionally, it matters to me. I like the feeling of winning. That's a big reason why I personally play DFS. I enjoy that, right? These contests are fairly friendly to beginners. You want to keep it to the lowest dollar entry amount. So on DraftKings, we want to stick to $1, $2, $3 contests. That kind of keeps the pros out of the ecosystem. Less time intensive. You only need to make one lineup. One solid lineup can work across multiple cash games and other contest types that we're going to talk about. Cons, limited upside, right? Your payouts are capped at 1.8x your entry generally, or 2x if it's a double up, requiring lots and lots of wins for significant gains. The rake, generally between 10 to 15%, reduces your profits. And you have to win consistently, even just to break even. And as I mentioned earlier, you need about a 55+% win rate to be profitable. And ideally 60% will get you a nice 5 to 7% ROI. Another con, if you go in the higher dollar head-to-head contest, generally $5, but 10, 25 and above, you're going to run into shark territory. You're going up against effectively what are pros. And those guys make good lineups also, which not that your lineups are better or worse, but every poker player knows that when you sit down at a poker table, if there are other pro sharks at the table, that's not who you're generally taking the money from. You're taking the money from the fish. So we want to attack fish. We don't want to attack pros because their lineups are really good. The biggest negative for me in cash games is probably just a little boring. You know, it's unsexy. I might do $500 in cash game entries. And if I have like in head to heads, let's say, and if things work out great that day and, you know, my lineup was really good and I win, I got a 65, 70% win rate, you know, I'll put in 500, I might win back $650. Like, okay, nice day, nice little profit, but it's not the most exciting thing in the world, but it keeps your account growing or it keeps your account from shrinking very quickly. All right, next, I'm going to talk about smaller tournaments. This is a bread and butter contest for me. So smaller tournaments are really, really important. And they're a wildly important part of the mix that you should be doing if you want to be a profitable DFS player in 2025 or ever. Now, smaller tournaments, smaller field GPPs typically will have between 75 to 1,000 entrants. And they offer a middle ground between cash games and large GPPs with flatter, but still somewhat top-heavy payout. Win expectation. Generally, anywhere from 20 to 25% of the field will be paid out. And if you're an extremely skilled player, you might be able to cash at a 30 to 35% rate. What that means is if you, let's say, do 10 lineups over the course of one, let's say, slate, 2.5 of those should finish in the money simply because 25% of the field is played. And if you're just an average player, 2.5, you'll get 2 lineups out of 10 or 2.5 lineups out of 10 in the top 25%. If you're a really, really skilled player, you might be able to get to 3 or 4 lineups in the cash line in that kind of a contest. So you might be able to cash 30 to 40% of your lineups in those contests. The payouts vary, but at the very, very low end, much like the large GPPs, the small GPPs are only paying out 1.5x or so. They're only paying out 1.5x to min cashers, which, on a $20 entry would only be $30. But at the very, very top range, you can get 50 to 100 times your entry fee in this contest if you finish in first. Finally, well, actually, we got a couple more here, but larger GPPs are tournaments with over 1,000 people, but up to a million people in them. Right? These are what I call this is the least profitable contest type, and I'll show you the math behind it at the end. But also, this is the contest type that most of you guys who are watching this invest the vast majority of your entry fees in. And this is where you're going wrong. We'll get into it all. But these contests, let's just talk a little bit about large GPPs and what they are. Large field GPPs, 10,000 up to hundreds of thousands of entrants. Win rates, cash rates tend to be about 25% with a less than 0.0001% chance of a first place finish. Skilled players, really skilled players, if you're using the domination station optimizer, you're here at DFS Army, you're a skilled player, might be able to put up as many as 30% of lineups into the cash line in a contest like this. But these are extremely top heavy, with first place often offering 1,000 or more X your entry fee. $1 million on a $5 entry is this contest right here. So, I can't even do the math. That is, 200,000 times your, a 200,000x your entry fee for first place in a contest like this. And listen, these are fun. They're lotto tickets. They're great contests to, dollar in a dream. But if you're looking to be a profitable DFS player, you're generally going to lose money in these. Like in the Millie Maker, especially this top heavy one, if I were to max this out as a somewhat skilled player and put $750 into this to attack it, my baseline expectation is that I'm going to lose anywhere from 50 to 60% of that. If I did okay that slate, I'm probably still going to lose 50 to 60% of my entry fees, unless I happen to put a miracle lineup, in the top 1%, or actually better. Yeah, about the top 1% it's going to take, or the top 0.1% just to get my money back. I'm going to show you the math on this, but it is pretty crazy. Finally, the last contest type we're going to be talking about are multipliers. And I love the multipliers, 10x and 40x multipliers. Your 10x multipliers will pay out the top 9% of finishers in the contest 10 times the entry fee. Your 40x will pay out the top 2.5%, around more closer to 2% of the entries of the entrants, but they will be paid 40 times their entry. That's the baseline of contests that are available to us on DraftKings. I'll show you some examples of these. Obviously, the Millie Maker here is the big, large GPP that I'm referring to. And this one is a particularly giant one for NFL Week 1, $5 entry, $1 million to first. It is a very intense contest, massively top heavy. And I fully would expect that if you were to max this out and put 150 lineups in here, you're going to lose somewhere between 50 to 75% of your money, unless you're winning it or putting in a top 10 finish, which is awesome. That's why we do it. We're not doing it to lose the 70% of our money. We're entering it to dream about the top 10 finish. Let's see what it pays. Top 10, we're getting 10,000, 12, 50, 100, a million. Let's go. Right. And I'm not going to say don't ever play in these, because obviously in DFS Army, we've had multiple members win $1 million in this contest throughout the years. We've had tens of $1 million winners, hundreds and hundreds of six-figure winners, 100,000 too. So it's definitely possible to win a big prize in one of these. But in order to get there, we have to be in the game long enough, and we have to survive without constantly redepositing long enough to allow variance to eventually get us to the promised land. So what I'm going to talk about here is how to do that. So that was the Milli Maker, right? We talked about that one. An average, let me load up the DraftKings lobby here so we can show some other contest types. So super large GPP, very top heavy, not something that you're going to turn a profit on. We talked about smaller GPPs. So I'm going to pull one of these up for you and kind of show what that might look like. I like this really small one. So the one I used before for my example was a $33 one. Yeah, here we go. So let's call it any one of these, like the mini flea. I'm just going to type the word mini in here. No, that didn't work. The magic of video. But yeah, here we go. Like the spy. So a spy single entry. This is a $100 entry, 334 entrants. And I just want to show this one. So this would be what I consider to be a smaller tournament, a small GPP. And this is going to pay out a little bit differently than the first one we talked about. This one is going to be a little bit more generous across the board. So here we see we've got 334 entrants, and here's your top, this is a top 20% lineup. So anywhere from top 10-ish to 20%, you're getting a double your money. Okay, not bad. You're going to double your money in the top 20%. If you're, let's see, top 10% here, looks like 2.5x, so not that great. But as you start to get to a top 2% lineup here, you'll get a 10x. So in this contest, you've got to be top 2% to 10x your money. And then if you're top 0.01%, you get a 50x on your money. Okay. So in this contest, I have to be top 0.01% to get a 50x on my money, right? So now let's look at the math of these contests. And I want to break this all down for you guys in a way that makes a lot of sense. So take a look at the chart that I've put up on screen here. And in this chart, I've detailed a number of different contest types that we just talked about, from the Milli Maker down to a standard double up. And in this column here, I've got your finishing position, top 50%, top 25, top 10, top 5, top 2, right? And this should emphasize why a lot of you guys who are losing money are probably simply losing money because you're attacking the wrong contest type. And I show you how and why. So let's say you're pretty good at making lineups, or you're a DFS Army member, you're with us for the Players Club, you're with us for you have our cheat sheets, notes, all this stuff, or elite, our projection model, and your lineups are pretty good, but you find yourself losing money. You say, man, this sucks. These lineups are terrible. This optimizer, projections, no good. That's not what's going on. The problem is generally contest selection. So look at what happens here. If I put up a top 2% score, all right, top 2%, doable. What's top 2%? If you're in a 100-person contest, you're in the top 2. Okay. Tough to do, but doable. It doesn't mean if you're in a 1,000-person contest, you're in the top 20. If you're in a 10,000-person contest, top 200. Have you ever finished top 200 in DFS? I'm sure you have, right? Except when you did it, you were a giant contest like this. And when you finished in the top 2%, okay, you 3x'd your money. So you put in $5, you got back 15. Big shit, right? Big deal. You didn't remember it. It's not even on your radar as a score that you remember. Like, another one, right? Because you lost a bunch of other ones in that contest. You only got, 3x on your money. You put in $5, you got 15. This example here, these dollars are shown based on a $20 entry fee example. So if I did a $20 entry and I got a top 2% here in like a small GPP, big deal. Or in a large GPP, big deal. I got 3x my money, $60. Bad day, right? Oh, this was a terrible weekend of fantasy football. Bad day. Well, was it? Because if you put that same lineup into a 40x multiplier, well, that $20 turns into $800. All of a sudden, you're having a really good day. And this is what I wanted to emphasize. In the 10x multiplier, which is very doable, by the way, $200 on a $20 entry. Okay. Pretty good, right? So the payout on a 10x or 40x, 200, 800, 80 or 60 in the big GPP. Same lineup, same score, massively different result. Now let's kind of scroll our way both down and up the leaderboard here. So if I build a top 50% lineup, which is an average lineup, I'm only cashing here in this double up, but I'm going to get my money back and I'm going to double it. Every other contest type I entered, I got a 0. Now here's where the multipliers are interesting. In the multiplier, so the 10x multiplier, if I score a top 25% score, I'm going to get 0. I lose all my money. If I had put that same lineup in a double up, I'm going to double my money. And if I had put that same lineup in any sort of GPP style contest, I'm going to get like a 1.5x my money back. So it's not a great win, but I got my money back and I get half 50%. So on a $20 entry, I get $30. Okay, not memorable. At least I didn't lose. But here's where it gets crazy. As soon as you hit the top 10%, all of a sudden this 10x multiplier, man, that's okay. I got $200, right? Every other contest that you entered, a lot less. Top 5% lineup, the same thing. I'm still getting my $200 from the 10x multiplier. All these other GPPs, they didn't really pay out very well at all. Top 5% is hard to do. If I'm entering 100 lineups, I can only get generally 5 of them in the top 5%. And look at what happens. So I only got 5 in the top 5%. I didn't barely even triple in the money. That's not making up for all the losses I had to endure in order to make enough lineups to make a top 5% lineup. But here in the 10x multiplier, it's like, okay, we don't care. 5, 10%, $200. Go down to 2%. Even harder to achieve. When I'm in the 14.5K entry contest and I get a top 2% lineup with $20, I'm only 3xing my money. It's barely a win. You don't even remember that one. You're like, I got $60 for that one entry. But the other 4 I put in all got 0 or got less, and I end up losing money in the contest. It's nothing special, right? Nothing special. Oh, now here's where it gets a little interesting. Top 2% in your mini GPP is not bad. Now we're getting $250, right? Mini GPP. Score 1 for the mini GPP. This one is a 138 entrant style mini GPP, and actually that does pay out fairly well. But the best payout comes from the 40x multiplier. So the 40x multiplier contest, which again, these are always available in the lobby. We go 40x, 40. I'm in tournament. No wonder it's not popping up. We got the micro booster, I believe is what it's called, or super. We got our super booster. We got our micro booster. And this a 50x on this one. These contests, this is my favorite one of them all here. The super booster, 10K, $50 turns into $1,000, right? 227 entries. Top 10 finishers. So this pays out really the top 4%. All these multipliers have different math. This one pays out the top 4%, but all 10 of those people in the top 4%, right? 10% of 227 is 22. 5% is going to be 11, about the top 4.5%. But all 4.5% of those guys are going to turn $50 into $1,000. That's a 20x. Pretty good. And again, and the super booster here is going to get you a 25x. So when you enter a large GPP, in order to get to the point where you're getting 25 to 40x your money, you need to be in the top 0.01% of finishers, generally for the larger GPPs. On the smaller GPPs, you might be able to get there at like a top 1%, but that's because that's still pretty much first or second place if there's only 100 people in it. So you basically have to win it in order to get a 40 or 50x on your money. Or if you enter one of these, because this doesn't pay anybody outside of the top 2% or 4%, depending on which one, everybody who is in the top 4%, it is top heavy, but it's spread out so evenly that it allows you to be rewarded for your really quality lineup. Understanding the difference between these. The double up does not reward anything better than top 50. Every payout is the same. So if you're making these amazing tournament winning high upside lineups, doesn't matter. Doesn't really reward it. Still going to get paid the same dollar amount. Head-to-heads do reward higher scores a little bit. So I would say if you're building for head-to-head contests, that does reward a little bit more because your win rate will go higher because you have a variety of opponents. But the most profitable contest types are going to be these 3 right here. So you have your small style GPP, and this example is 138 entrants, but that is the number. I want it to be really somewhere under 200 entrants. And I don't even mind 75, that size contest where if you can hit a top 1 or 2%, you're actually going to finish in first or second place. And you're going to get a nice little payout. Or we go to the 10x or the 40x multiplier, where in the 10x is one of my absolute favorites because I can raise my entry fee a little bit, knowing that I can build 10 lineups for that contest. I only need to put 1 in the money to make my money back for the 10 that I built. If I put a second one in the nuts or a second one in the money, now I'm making big profit, right? On a $20 entry, that's $800 in profit. On a 10x multiplier, I'm getting $200 in profit. So if I entered 10 of those, I spent $200. If if I get 2 of them in the money, I'm going to get my original 200 back plus another tip. And then I take those same lineups and I'll put them in the 40x multiplier. And if one of those now at a smaller dollar amount, let's say a $4 one that pays 100 or whatever you're comfortable with, right? If I did a $20 one for the 10x, I'd probably do a $4 one. But if I'm doing a $100 one in the 10x, I might do a $25 or a $50 one in the 40x. Same lineup though. If it happens to be in the top 2.5%, now making $800 on a $20 entry or, whatever the dollar amount is. So in order to be profitable on DraftKings, the biggest takeaway should be you're not going to generally be profitable attacking what I call the promotional contests, or in less kind words, sucker contests are up here at the top. They're starred. They got a little M next to it. They want to suck you in. They have massive, massive margins most of the time, 16%. And you're just probably not going to win. You're probably going to lose half of your money every time. Now, if you're judging yourself like, I'm sick of playing DFS. I keep doing the play action. I do a 20 max and I enter $60 a week and I always lose half my money and I'm sick of this shit. And why do I suck? You don't suck. That's just what you should expect. That happens every single week. You're entering the wrong content, or you're not playing a style of DraftKings that could ever be profitable until you hit a tournament win, right? Eventually, if you get lucky enough, one of those entries might take a tournament down. You might win $10,000 or $50,000 from that. And that will make up for years and years and years and years and years of just churning out, $60 or $90, $60 in the 20 max $3 contest. It will cover years of it, but it will take years for you to get the variance. Listen, there's nothing skilled about the difference between a 0.01% finish and a 0.001% finish. There's just luck involved with it. You made a good lineup. You're in the top 0.01%, but the difference between 50th place in this contest, which is 0.001% of the field, and first place is, $1 million versus $350. So that little bit of variance requires massive amounts of time to overcome. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't play in those contests. We love going for the big bucks. But what I'm saying is base your DraftKings DFS play, put the majority of your dollars, the majority of your capital into contests that will reward you for your skill set. That means focus on small GPPs, 10x, 40x, 20x multipliers, and double ups. If I was splitting my funds out for NFL week 1 and I want to play a profitable approach, I'm going to dedicate just 20% of my entry fees to these type of contests, to large GPPs, or even the Millie Maker, or even large GPPs, Millie Maker being its own super giant thing, right? No more than 20% of my entry fees are going into those. I'm expecting to lose half of that. So I'm effectively going into the slate being like, all right, that 20%, I'm going to be down 50% on it. So I'll be down 10% no matter what. So I'm looking to these other contest types to make that money back for me, smooth out my returns, allow me to keep attacking these giant tournaments until I can finally hit a big win. Guys, I hope this helps, and I hope you adjust your play this upcoming NFL season if you want to be a profitable player. Not everybody does. A lot of people are just, this is recreational, and that's cool too. But I feel like if you're watching this video, you want to be profitable. So the other thing that will help you be profitable is becoming a DFS Army member, taking advantage of all the tools we have at DFS Army. I will give a promo code here to check out DFS Army. We want you to sign up and see what we have going on. The optimizer, the projections, the cheat sheets, the Discord, the notes, the Players Club, where every single week in DFS Army on Saturday, we stream for 2 hours, building content lineups specifically for double ups, for multipliers and small GPPs and 10x contests. We build these lineups. We go through the process of how to build them, how to pick the players, why, all that stuff every week. Players Club, if you want to check out DFS Army, right now we are running the big NFL 2025 promo code NFL 2025 will knock off 50% of the price of DFS Army monthly VIP, or you could just do the full season NFL package, promo code NFL 25, not 2025, just 25 will get you 12 months of DFS Army NFL full coverage, everything we do. So hope to see you in the DFS Army Discord this year. But more importantly, I hope to see you turning into a profitable DraftKings player in 2025. Good luck, everybody.